I hope you guys are doing well. This is me, Abu Bakr Dilawar. I welcome you all to our latest episode of Founders Kahani. So, as you know, in Founders Kahani, we always invite different startup founders, different mentors from all over the world. So you can take help from them, and you can build your entrepreneurial idea by getting the inspiration from such inspiring people. So today we also have a very inspirational guest with us all the way from Australia. Please welcome Sameer Babar. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. You can just call me Sameer. I'm very good, thank you very much. And hello, all viewers and audience that are joining in and listening to us. Greetings from all the way from Australia.
That's really nice. So this is Founders Kahani. So if we talk about what Sameer Kahani is.
My kahani is very simple. I was born in India, brought up in India, became an engineer, worked with Department of Space in India, and worked on a number of projects with data, satellite, very interesting and very complex projects. Migrated to Australia with a stint in Middle East, Qatar, and been working in high-end, cutting-edge, bleeding-edge technology projects. I think I've meandered slowly into startups about 7 years ago. So I started working. I built number of projects and products, some very successful, not so successful. And about 2016, I started working with startups, advising them. So with number of pre-seed accelerators business in Australia, apparently there is Blackbird VC, which I would say arguably the number one VC group. They have got a pre-seed accelerator StartMate, so I advise and mentor there. So between different Techstars, Founders Institute, and StartMate, I would have perhaps come across, if not more, about 500 startups. And I work with Founder Institute as well. So every time I advise firms, I get equity in the business. So I would have equity in about 120, 130 startups around the globe. And I invest my own funds in it. So I have invest in a limited number of startup companies, mostly in Australia, because I think it's easier to manage the business or have an oversight on the startup business in Australia. And I think money is a very tricky thing. Repatriation of money from India, from Pakistan, from US, or any other country to Australia or vice versa is another layer of complexity I tend to avoid at this stage.
Exactly.
So that's my short story.
Okay. So when we talk about your kahani, you always mentioned that you combine the digital technology, operational experiences, and strategies. So could you give us some example from your kahani that how you combine these type of things?
So digital strategy, startups, and like pretty much, based on my background, it's been my natural inclination to work in startups that either are technology driven or leverage technology in some way, shape, or form. That said, I've been involved in medtech as well. Um, I have invested in one, but that doesn't, because I don't have in-depth knowledge on that, so I have to rely on family members or others who are more experienced in that side of the game. So from my own personal experience and expertise, because I understand deep tech, because I actually have an appreciation of how things are built, that's been my interest and focus.
That's really nice. That's really nice. So now it creates a confusion in my mind. Like as you told that you were working on a good position in India, and what inspired you to become the entrepreneur, become the CEO, and become a non-executive founder or a founder? What inspired you to be in the startup world?
See, the thing that you'll see in when you're working for somebody, and in fact, recently Narayan Murthy mentioned working 70 hours, which has created a huge level of discussion, particularly in India and perhaps some other countries as well. Now, when you are working as an employee, depending on where you're working, of course, you have Google and Microsoft and a senior level employees who are shareholders who get equity in the business and have higher returns. But if you're working as an employee, and no disrespect or no offense meant to anyone, but you are, in general, in most organizations, you are actually performing as per the role that's been assigned to you. So by its very definition, when you say, what's your role in the organization? So you have a role. You are supposed to do certain things. You're supposed to meet certain objectives for a large organization. You're cog in the system that's producing an outcome. So that's becomes very limiting. What do you do if you don't want to be imposed limits on you? That's when you start looking at, hey, can I actually create my own ship rather than being a cog in the system? Yes, your ship might be a very tiny ship, but it's yours. And that is number one thing. And the second thing is that you can grow your own venture. There's a joke which I'll like to share with your audience now. Is the boss gets a very nice Lamborghini, and the staff member looks at it and says, "Oh, sir, very nice Lamborghini you've got." And the boss says, "Yeah, if you really work hard, work 70 hours, really do your job diligently, I'll have another one next year." So the context is who has got the upside. And if you're a shareholder, you have equity in the business, you have stake in the business, you are a partner in the decision making, great. That's the place to be. If you think you don't have that, definitely startup is another way to look at it. Now, it may not work for everybody, and sometimes people, and this is for your audience specifically, sometimes people want to say, I'm going to do my startup. And they want to do the startup because they want to get out of this 9 to 5 rut. And I must say to those people that working for your own business is a 24/7 rut. So,
Exactly.
so if, and I'm sure you've done that. So you will agree on that, people who think that I want to just get out of this 9 to 5 and I want to work 24/7, that's when you do the startup. And the other thing you'll find is you will be on the emotional roller coaster. It's working, it's not working. It's working, the world's coming to an end. No, the world's continuing. And every day will be that day. So you need two things for that. You need a very solid, strong emotional support group that actually comes to your rescue when you need them. And you need to be yourself resilient. If you're not resilient, forget about it. That's not for you. And of course, people talk about persistence. It won't happen. It's many times successful founders will come and say, "Oh, it was an overnight success that took me 7 years. It was an overnight success that took me 15, 20 years." So if you think that success is just sitting there and you will watch TV a bit, do something, a double with something a bit, and it will come to you, no, it's not going to happen that easily. Uh,
Exactly.
it might be as an exception, but not as a rule.
Yeah, for that overnight, there are millions of sleepless nights for that one overnight.
Yes.
Exactly. So Samir, most of our audience are the startup founders, the young university students who are trying to build something on their own. So one of the major thing that we face, especially in the countries like Pakistan or India, is the presentation skills and the pitching skills. If you have to pitch your startups, you have to pitch your idea. Even it's difficult for us to pitch our idea to our parents even. So, as
Yeah.
a founder institute mentor, so how do you advise those young startup founders? Like, what's the art of pitch?
Okay. Before even we get into the speaking style and presentation style, this is a question which has got many parts to it. But let's look at pitching what it is, what you're trying to do, and then sort of drill down deeper into it, and then go to the pitch deck or the structure of the pitch deck. So one is purpose, and the second is pitch deck. And then we'll come on to the third side, which is perhaps, I would say, style. Let's touch upon style after that. So the first thing you need to ask is, who you're pitching to. You said parents. Sometimes parents find it really hard to understand what you're doing. No, this is particular for many families in India as well as Pakistan. So father might be a clerk in one of the government departments, and son is working in some high performance computing or some high tech product, or he's working on an app, or she's working on an app which does something really complex. Now my question is, how can you explain that to your father? So the idea that is, and I'm going to drill down into it, he is a type of audience. You have to tailor the message to your audience. So let's just see that you have different types of audience. So you have to really tailor your message to what your audience cares about. You cannot actually, not every conversation is about money. Not every conversation is about how great your product is. Not every conversation is, I'm going to change the world. I mean, there's a lot of founders I come across and talk to. They just want to change the world. Why do you want to change the world? You want to serve the world. Because, think about it. People don't want to buy features. That's number one thing. You must think about tomorrow. You come up with a device, let's say anti-gravity. As a belt, you put it around your waist and it's anti-gravity. You can go up, or you can come up with a fuel. You fill up in the tank of your car. It's water-based, or you put drop of ink in water or something, and then it becomes fuel, and you're able to drive cars. Or pure water, you're able to drive your cars on. Are the existing companies going to let you do that? Think about the investments Boeing and Airbus has in the aviation vehicles, the amount of aviation, the economy of Middle East running. Some guy, some backroom comes up with something. Yes, it's a great product, anti-gravity. Yes, it's a great thing. But you have to really think about how you're going to implement it. Electrical cars, they were possible many, many, many years ago. It's taken quite a while for Elon Musk. Actually, Elon Musk was the person who popularized it, though technology was invented quite a long time ago. And the reason he was successfully able to do it, because he went all guns blazing. He went all in, invested all his money to go into it. Now, not everybody's capable of doing that. Some people might be capable of doing it. So you have to really see that, even if you come up with something as radical as that, what is the commercial space? Are you able to transform the world? So don't try and change the world always. Try and create a product or service that benefits people. Use that as a pointy end of the arrow, and then spread out. So now I was talking about the audience. You have to tailor the message to audience. Now think about it. And I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I have sought money to be invested in, and I have invested money in the company. So I think I can safely bring that both side perspective together. So as an investor, what would I like to see? I would like to see the sound of money. My money is multiplying at a rapid rate. You are a founder, you're acquiring customers. So every time I talk to you, like one of my startup founders, every time I see him, oh, Sameer, we got this customer, we signed up this. So I'm really excited. I mean, it's really, every time I see him, 2 days later, oh, we signed up this, so what ticks me is number of customers he's signing up. He's growing the market. That's another thing I'm looking at. High returns, how fast he's actually investing his money, not going and buying an expensive car with the money he's generating, but actually pumping back into business, pumping back into technology. The business model itself is replicable. The margins are high, the profit is high, the rate of growth is high. Those are the things as an investor I'd love to see. If I'm a competitor, what would I like to see? I'd like to see, as a competitor, you're new guy in the market. I'd like to see that you're creating ideas, you're creating new market where actually I can go and acquire some customers as well, or I can actually go and do something in this new market. Or I would expect you to fail so that I can actually go and acquire your business for pittance and roll it into and acquire your customers and use them. So that's what your competitors would want to hear. And customers, what are they gonna
Exactly.
be interested in? So customers, I've seen a lot of times people are pitching, they say, I've got these features and this feature and that feature, and this does this. You press this button. No, customers don't want that. What customers are keen to understand is, are you able to solve the problem at a price or not? You know, that's as simple as that. How much it is. People want to know that it's not going to break the bank. And so they, even within customers, they different groups of customers, and we're not getting into persona analysis and all that stuff, but different groups of customers, they actually seek quite different benefits. Somebody might be looking at, oh, it's better, cheaper, faster. Yes, that's, somebody might just say, no, I just want it to be more reliable. And I'm sure you would have seen a lot of comparisons of iPhone being manufactured in one country versus another country, and the quality associated with, or the same product manufactured in Japan versus another country. So
Exactly.
there's association people give to what country the product has been manufactured in. So there's a reliability thing. Then there is esteem, Gucci, Patek Philippe watch, Rolex, Louis Vuitton bags. That's, I've got this. People will just try and sit like this just to make sure that you. But again, let's not go into that mindset paradox of people who want to show off, or people who are really rich, they don't need to show off. Then we're looking at people want to feel charitable, so they'll go for organizations like Oxfam, charity. Our company gives 1% of the proceeds to Oxfam, because that's, you want to be seen as the person who feels charitable. Or then, you're buying a bed, the comfortable, or you can actually turn the hardness and softness, or even quality aspects. Medical company, we've got ISO certifications, we got 13485 certification, we got CE certificate. So that's what customers are looking for
Exactly.
now.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is, you have to pitch as a founder. You have to pitch to your co-founder, your family members as well. So I'm coming to that. So if you're pitching to your co-founder, what are you gonna say? You've been in those shoes. You're gonna say, "Hey, I'm building this company. It's fantastic. You're gonna make money. You're gonna do this. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great ride. Come and join me. It's gonna be financially rewarding, and we're gonna change the society. I'm gonna change my Zoho, for example. The guy who's the founder of Zoho has changed his entire town. Um, so you have to really see what you're bringing to co-founder and other people, or people who are going to work in the company. What are you bringing? And then the message is, if you're telling your family members, what's your purpose, what's your passion, what energizes you. So your parents, your family, your mom and dad are only going to measure your energy level, and that's really important.
Yes.
They can't see inside it. If the domain is different, they can't see. They will see, my son or my daughter is really feeling happy and excited, Oh, he's got all these people coming and meeting him. He gets calls all the day from all these important people on the planet. And he's very well known. His name is in the newspaper. That's what they'll care about. So what you have to really see is, you know, how does that energy transfer is working between what you're doing and them. So this is about your
Yeah, I think
uh,
it's a very good advice for like young startup founders for me because as I told you, my parents are basically business from like they see business. They have a textile business, so they can't really understand the startup culture. They are saying, "Well, don't join the family business. Why are you wasting your life?" So they don't understand what exactly startup culture is, what exactly the tech culture is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think, the way, and I'm sure you would be able to relate to it, that when you had the successful company and when you exited, so they would have actually seen in your eyes how happy you are, how
Exactly.
energized you are, how respectable people are to you, what you're doing. I think that's all translates.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, what's the basically are the key factors that a successful founder should have according to you?
uh Successful founder, I think that the biggest one I would say is persistence. The biggest one. I mean, what I tell people is startups fail,
Yes.
founders don't fail. Successful founders, they have this innate ability to go from one failed company to another failed company to another failed company till they find success. Now it's a very hard thing. It sort of destroys some people along the way, but generally speaking, good founders will actually find their feet and they'll keep going. And it's not the magnitude necessarily of the success, it is the direction that they are heading in. So it's not that, I mean, I'm sure you heard Elon Musk say a number of times and number of other founders say a number of times. So they're happy in their skin. They will continue doing what they are doing, what they are set out to do. More money, less money. It's about their passion. It's about what energizes them. And I think that's at the end of the day, you have to really keep in mind. Yes, money, if you're chasing just money and nothing else, then it's going to be a chase. It's going to be a lot of hard work. But if you're chasing your passion, even if you have suboptimal outcomes, the journey will become easy. And it's all about journey.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about destination.
Exactly, exactly. So my next question will be like one of the most important thing for the startups is the pitch deck. So as a mentor or as a startup advisor, how do you see what a ideal pitch deck look like?
Okay. As we said, when you're pitching, when you're talking about your story, you're saying different things to different people. So moving on to when you're pitching, pitch deck usually is about seeking money or funds. So let's sift through it and let's sift through. It's usually a PowerPoint type presentation or a deck of cards that you're going to use in a situation and tell others. Now, you could be pitching in a closed room in a bunch of people to a company or a big stage, in front of thousands of people, in a very well rehearsed, in a very well choreographed, in a very well timed presentation. So you have to really be mindful of the nuance. Again, going back to the audience, you need to be super clear who you're presenting to. Now, pitch deck, the sequence might slightly be different in different cases, but a typical pitch deck might be you have to introduce yourselves. But when you're introducing yourself, the most important thing is you kind of, when you're starting out, when you don't have necessarily track record. Not everybody's got track record. But what do you have then? If you think about it, you're a startup founder. You call them numbnuts, no money, no time, for the right reason. You have nothing. You might have a college degree, you may not have a college degree. So you go to somebody seeking money. You know what they look for? They want to look you in the eye and they say that, are you a man of integrity? Are you a man who's in the mission or a purpose? Look you in the eye and be able to ascertain that. And if you're putting that in the slide deck, it needs to come out. You may not have a PhD in farming, but if you are actually doing something for farmers, it has to come out in your passion. Look, I'm a third generation farmer. My dad was farmer. My granddad was farmer. I'm a farmer, and I've solved this problem by coming up with this simple piece of gadget or technology that does this, that's going to help thousands of people around the globe. you know but your passion has to show. So the first one, I would say, the introduction. Who the hell you are. Why should I trust you? And trust is trust is really important. I might give you an example. You're at a street light and you get a right turning arrow. You trust that green light, that it's turning right, I can turn right. What if the other guy was also getting the wrong arrow at the same time? You'll have a collision. Think
Yes.
about it. But you trust that at the intersection, driving at 60 kilometers per hour, you trust that light. It's not going to betray you. You go to an ATM, you withdraw $500 or rupiah or whatever it is. Punch in the numbers, you know that 500 is going to come out. What if it's 200 every time you punch in 500? You trust the system. So somehow you have to build the same level of trust. You say, I am this. It has to be there. And sometimes what you have to do is, as we are doing, is we're sowing the seeds of trust. I was having a conversation with you that when I do pro bono stuff, it's the seed of trust that people can actually come to you because they have seen you talk, they have seen you do things. So you have to build that trust. So introduction to self, your mission, your passion. The thing is of lesser importance. Your mission, your vision, your purpose has to be absolutely clear. The next one, I would say, is the problem you are solving. Yeah, you're solving the problem. I'm going to build an anti-gravity device, then everybody will be able to. But you have to say that. And you have to say that how people are in pain. And I'm sure you would have seen and again, no disrespect is intended, you see a lot of charity ads which say that animals are in the cage, and suddenly you give them money, animals are outside the cage. It doesn't happen. But they are giving you a concept, and they are giving you a problem and a solution that they're creating in the world, and that makes you charitable. Again, it's not intended to offend anyone. So if the example offends anyone, my apologies. But the point is that you have to be very clear about the problem you're solving. Why should I care? Why should I give a damn about the problem that you're solving? Okay. The other thing is how big your market is. Now, I'm going to make a store that will sell tea or coffee, and it'll be the best tea or coffee in the neighborhood. That's it. That's fine. So your target market might be 500 people living in their area, 1,000 people or 2,000 people. So that the target market is actually your total market size. Sorry, your total market size is the number of people living in that area. You have to have complete clarity on what your total market is. And then how much is serviceable? How much of it is accessible? How much of it is actually obtainable? Now, when Uber went out, or sorry, Airbnb, when they went out, one of the guys, he went out and his colleagues actually changed the numbers behind his back. And it sort of worked out because Sequoia had done the groundwork before, so they kind of felt the numbers were right. But the important thing to know is, once you know that this is your total market, what's the total amount of money that you are likely to make. And sometimes what happens is, and I've written a blog, if you go to sameerbabar.substack.com, I have a blog on this, that your total addressable market could be calculated incorrectly. And one of the reasons is that the market might expand, as in case of Airbnb. Once Airbnb came in, people started renting out their granny flats, rooms in their houses. Before that, nobody did that. So they changed the way people thought about renting a part of their homes to a complete stranger. So you have to really, and sometimes you can't comprehend that in advance, but change the total addressable market, so it's still growing. So that's how big your total market size is, whether it's serviceable, accessible, and obtainable, all these aspects.
Exactly.
What your actual product or actual services, what you're actually offering. And remember to sell benefits. As I mentioned to you before, people get caught into widgets, gadgets, buttons. No. Let's think about the example, BlackBerry. BlackBerry had all the features before iPhone came in, all the features. But Apple had a better story to tell. Same thing. So it's not about that. It's about something else. So you're selling benefits, how convenient it is, how easy it is for you to do that. Then you're selling your team.
Yes.
Why is your team that you're with is best on the planet, best in the game? Means you need to sort of have that content. And a lot of times you'll find that founders have falling out. And the reason the founders have falling out is it's a trust issue. There are many other issues. Let's not go into that at the moment. But why is your team the best on the planet? And you'll see whether you pick up Microsoft, you pick up Airbnb, you pick up Airtasker, you pick up Canva. Even if you pick up randomly some of these super successful unicorns, well known around the globe, you'll find that, and this is really funny, is you'll find that 2 or 3 people came together. They were pretty average people, some of them not, but they were okay. Individually they may not have been able to create such a magnified version of the business, but they came together and they kind of resonated. That's the word I would use. That if you studied physics, suddenly 2 vibrations come together and they resonate. And I think that's probably is working with the human. So that chemistry, somebody should be able to see that this is a team, and they're resonating so well that we come together and we're doing something really awesome, and we have all these aspects that the startup needs together. Then the business model canvas, you might have seen, or Kim and Mobonia's business strategy canvas. So those are the tools I would suggest kind of looking at. But you can come up with hundreds of business models, on the business model canvas, and portray what's your journey through the different business models as you progress. But still, how you have these different elements that are going to come together as a business, and how you're going to translate your vision into something really tangible. And when it comes to tangible, you need to look at your financial projections, how you're going to realize your vision in terms of numbers. you need to actually be very clear on what your moat is. You understand the protection from other companies to encroach on your territory. The other thing that you have to be mindful of is not lifting and shifting stuff from other people's work. That otherwise you get into litigation. And sometimes what you'll find is some of the very successful companies, they'll try and litigate because they don't want a competitor to come and play in their own turf. So your moat has to be very clear there.
Exactly.
Then, sorry.
I said exactly. This is very good thing that you were saying this. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be really um, watching your sides as well, because sometimes competitors, they just try and hire your employees and then say that
Yes.
you've stolen their IP, not the other way around. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, or
That's the
see,
main problem in tech startups, basically.
absolutely, and particularly in India and Pakistan, the intellectual property is not seen the way US and Australia sees that. So you have to really be very careful about it. And on while I'm on that, sometimes founders, and I'm sure many of your viewers or audience will or might have thought about it, going to an investor and asking for an NDA. I mean, I don't know how many companies I've encountered yesterday and how many I'm going to encounter tomorrow, and I'm not going to be in a position to keep track of all the NDAs. And even if they try and litigate to me, I'm going to take them to court and win the case in any way. So it's not always worth asking an investor to sign an NDA, to be honest. So when you come to the funding request, you say what you're wanting in terms of dollar and what you're willing to give back in exchange. What is the equity? What if it's a safe note? What is the discount that you're giving? So you need to have complete clarity, and then you need to actually portray how long is this money going to last. And then if it's a small group of people, obviously people might be willing to or wanting to ask questions. But you have to really remember that if you're in a very small group in a room, if you're interrupted, answer the question before you move into the next slide, because don't tell a potential investor that, hey, let me finish all the slides and then I'm going to answer your question. Don't do that. If somebody asks you a question, answer that question, move to the next slide. You don't want to have crammed all the discussion. You need to actually be able to feel what you're talking about. So that's about the pitch deck.
And
Now,
now I have another like personal question from you. At what tone you should be presenting the pitch to the
yeah,
investor?
yeah, I remember that question. So I'm coming to that. The confidence is really important. Vision is really important. I was giving example of Steve Jobs. BlackBerry had everything, and Steve Jobs destroyed BlackBerry. So his story was not on features. His story was about convenience, and then building an ecosystem about it. So your tone has to be passion, confidence. You're not to memorize it. You to you yes, to a degree, yes, you may want to have points in your head, but you're not narrating. You are actually exchanging your energy and passion with somebody. You're giving your energy away, and you're expecting somebody is going to invest in you with the view that you're both going to be successful on the other end. So use that as ability, and you don't see that as a founder you are at a lower platform. In fact, think about it this way, that you might be giving an opportunity to someone to get rich. So you should be proud of it. And if you're not doing it, if you don't have that confidence, then perhaps you're not there yet. So you shouldn't be asking for money. You first get there. um, The other thing is the ability to acquire and retain customers. That's really important. Um, and the ability to sell is really important.
Yes.
So whether you're talking about yourself, you and I are having this conversation. What are we doing? We are selling our passion, maybe exchanging energy, and selling our academic prowess, or selling our ability to be able to do something. At every stage, there is an exchange happening. Don't blow it away. Every time you're having a dinner conversation, you may not necessarily have to explain everything, but don't come across as somebody who's kind of, by the way, I'm working on this. you know if it happens, happens. If it doesn't, don't show it. I'm doing this, I really like it. Be in it. Otherwise, don't do it. you
Yes.
know don't be a entrepreneur. Just wanting something to happen is not a good place to be. I'm an entrepreneur. Don't be a pretendpreneur either, that you're pretending that I'm doing something to keep myself busy. So that's something that's vital. The other thing is that raising money. Raising money is no guarantee of success. People think that, oh, we have raised money. We are rich. Don't go and buy a car now. Buy a nice house or whatever. Raising money is no guarantee of success. It's actually having a sustainable, successful businesses. And the other thing that is happening is that earlier days the businesses lasted 50 years, 100 years. The lifetime of the business was quite huge.
Yes.
Now the lifetime of the business is shrinking as well. Think about it, all these AI based companies that are coming up, like anything. Do you
Yeah.
think 5 years from now every company will survive? I'd seriously doubt it. If they're good, they might be acquired. If they're bad, they might die of natural causes. So you have to really be mindful. And I know Bill Gross's article about timing, and the timing seems like that everybody's going to jump into AI, but be careful. At the end of the day, you're building a sustainable business. So
Exactly.
that's really important.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the other thing is, when you go and ask somebody for money, the other thing I see is, have you bet your everything on it? Why should I trust you when you don't trust yourself? So you got, let's say, $500,000 sitting in your bank, but you don't want to touch it. You want somebody else to put their money. You see that so much of a risk, you're putting your own money, that you want somebody else to put their money. Well, you've lost it, because if you don't believe in your own idea, why should I believe in your idea? So that's something you have to really see, because if you're building something really great, you want to retain as much equity as possible in the business.
Exactly.
That's my take.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sameer, for coming to Founders Kahani. Unfortunately, we have very short time left, and I still have too many questions, and my team is continuously saying me ask this question, and I think we should plan a second part of it too, because I really enjoyed this conversation, and the things that we were talking off camera was also very informative for me. So I think we should plan something part two of this
Sure.
podcast soon. And I'm sorry, guys, we cannot entertain your questions today. If you have any questions from Sameer, I will share his LinkedIn on our pages or stories. Then you can reach out to him through LinkedIn directly, and you can ask him any questions if you want. And thank you so much, Sameer, and thank you so much, guys, for listening to Founders Kahani today. And see you next time. Please अपना ख्याल रखें and तरक्की करते रहें. अल्लाह हाफिज.